Okay, let's do a bit of an audio check. 1 2 1 2. Camera. Okay, let's do a bit of an audio check. Yep, that's working. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to do a short stream today. We just yesterday I had Christmas shopping got in the way, but today I have some time to do a bit more work on Freeplay mode. Now, last time we managed to set up the undergrounds, roughly the rough four undergrounds, and a rough surface. But we were having a couple of issues with it crashing. I have hunted down what those issues were, and we still need a bit more work done on them, because as it stands, the human player has to currently play in position 0, which is not what we want for the free play mode. We want you to be able to start in different positions. So I shall be looking at that in the near future, but I'm not going to do that on stream because it's not particularly interesting work, because that's all back end stuff. So on this stream, I'm going to be looking into starting to add surface creatures and the basic skeleton of what I'm going to call the Freeplay director, which will allow the level to randomly spawn creatures as it sees fit based on what difficulty settings you've got the level on, and other settings you've got the level set to. So yeah, we're going to make a start on that today. So yeah, this is where we got to last time. The surface is very basic, so is the underground, but if I play, the audio should work as well. It shouldn't crash. If it does crash, it's suddenly decided to start doing it in the last 10 minutes. It's a big map, so it does take a while to get going. Okay, so there we go. Currently, we haven't got it set up to spawn any workers, mainly because so it doesn't come out the mic so loud. We haven't got it to spawn any workers, mainly because we're not actually sure what species of the player will be playing, because they could be playing black ants, wood ants, or a species of Formiciraptor. And we'll get into the details of how we're going to actually allow the player to select their colony. Probably not today, but maybe in the next stream. Depends how far we get today with the Freeplay director as such. So yeah, there's this underground area. Now, we said we were going to allow the player to tunnel to basically create their own path to their surface tunnel. I think that's a nice option because it gives people a little bit more creative freedom of how they want their nest to be. So we'll just verify that heading to the surface works. We've only got one ant, and we're not going to get any more because we haven't got any food, and there's no food on the whole map, so we're never going to have any food. However, we should be able to dig to the surface and go to the surface. If I press F8, there should be other colonies. That's me jumping out of. These won't have a worker because they're the hero worker is the one worker that I've got on my side, and that hero worker is only set up to spawn on player 0. So we'll have to change that for this, considering you might not be player 0. You can see there's Z fighting going on there. But yeah, there's the 4 colonies underground. And we have a quick look at the surface. So yeah, there's the 4 different surface tunnels that we set up yesterday. Now, should be set up, so if I right click on one, if you see the point jumps to the center, that's because when you right click on an enemy tunnel that you're allowed to enter, and these are currently set up for the player being allowed to enter, is it jumps to the center of it. Now, because we haven't than entering the enemy tunnels in any campaign missions. We're going to need to come up with a few new UI things for that, and I'll get our artist Matt working on that. I'm not the art person. The music might be a bit loud. You're right, Dinosaurus Rex. How you doing? So yeah, there'll be some new UI elements, but I believe the AI should be set up right for that. Although, if you remember, we've made it so you've not tunneled. The other areas will need to tunnel, and the computer isn't actually running any AI at the minute. So it's obviously all these need more work. So if we actually tried to enter someone else's tunnel, which I think our ant's going to do, we'll probably get an error. It'll probably just tell us that it can't find a place for it to spawn underground. There's our valiant ant going to invade the yellow colony. Yeah, could not get a point to transfer. So that's basically the ant trying to enter.
The colony is starving.
Like
there is not enough food to feed the new brood.
So we need to deal with the AI for that. So basically, if you're trying to enter an enemy nest where the hole's not dug out, that's another bit of graphics they'll need to do, is the surface holes not being dug out, that you can't do it. In the campaign missions, if you've ever not dug to the surface, what you'll find is when an enemy does come into your nest, it actually breaks through automatically. I think it rarely happens. Basically, if you start level like Rising Tide and just leave it, eventually, when the first Night Hermit Crab does attack, it'll just break through. But I don't think I want colony creatures to do that. But it's something we need to consider, because there has to be a way of attacking the player, right? Maybe it takes a long time to do it from the other way around, or a lot of ants. I don't know. I am not sure at the moment. I think what I'll probably do for now is just make every enemy begin with, because at the moment we're just thinking about single player. So make every enemy colony begin with their nest open. Right. So I said I was going to look into creating the kind of bare bones for this director, but before I do that, I'm just going to do a bit more work on the sand dunes as such, because obviously there's still a lot of work to do. This is a large open area and there's not many features at the minute. The map's called the Dunes, and I intended it to be like sand duney sort of area. Oh, I seem to have missed one. Wonder how I manage that. So yeah, it's going to be large areas of I'd like some rear access here. I think it'd be nice to have rear access. Okay, I've selected something that I shouldn't have done. What have I've selected the landscape. So first things first. Oh, don't do that. Okay, I am going to I'm going to make the landscape invisible so I don't keep clicking on it. Yeah, and to be fair, some of the edge of the map can be raised as well. Maybe we'll have some ramps at the back here, or something along those lines. I want this map to be fairly open. Maybe this is a good place to put our first ramp in. Well, once I've made the shape slightly more natural. Just going to do a quick check. The shape slightly more. Yep. Stream is running fine. How is everyone in preparation for Christmas? I had to I hadn't started my Christmas shopping until like yesterday. No, today. Today was the first bit of Christmas shopping I did. Although me and my family, we're quite we've made it quite simple for each other now. We just do a Secret Santa. Just because it's just hassle for everyone to buy presents. In the levels we have these things. They're called tunnel spawners, but all they are is it's just an actor, and basically they just spawn points really. And the director will be making good use of those because most things will spawn out of them. Certainly on the beach levels. Maybe we can come up with some more interesting spawners for other levels. Holes in wood, or that sort of thing. I think I'm gonna make a couple of higher up places as well. Just make things a bit more dynamic here. Maybe a couple of little pits as well. Something we've got to be aware of when we're designing the levels, and this is why some of the levels have been designed the way they have been, is the access, because the way you control your colony is obviously just through a single point, and we found that it can be frustrating if your ants go round a different direction than you were expecting them to go round. So each time we design levels, we really do have to take that into consideration. And we've considered alternatives to it as well, like allowing you to like maybe place 2 points or hold and drag so you can pick a direction that ants go around. But in the end, we've just kind of settled on this single point thing just because it's simple. But maybe one day we'll revisit it. Mostly because it does limit level design. And I don't like the fact that it limits level design. Do with like an interesting feature here, I think. I say the way I envisage stuff being like the way I envisage it setting up interesting stuff like seed spawners or large patches of creatures or that is by giving the level what I'll call points of interest, and at these points of interest it can randomize whatever appears there. Sorry, 3. So it'd be nice if some of them were available more to one colony than another. But some of them also need to be contested. Like there should be some serious ones like here and here. because these two colonies are so close, I think I'm going to shove a big line through them. Just to kind of make it a little bit more tricky for access. Because there's still loads that needs to be done on that front. I think for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to set up a couple of spawners now. I'm going to put these in position roughly. Just so we've got an area to work with. Is that touching the floor? Yep. Okay. So yeah, these are going to be the areas that enemies start to spawn from. Camera's moving a bit quick there. I'm going to ask our artist to fill in that area at some point, but for now that'll do. Let's put into position 3 spawners. Like I say, I'm not trying to make it look pretty at the moment. I'm just trying to roughly come up with a plan for the level. Okay, so that spawner can kind of feed this central area here. I'll have one on the opposite side. To kind of feed the central area as well, but from the other side. Kind of build the tiles up around it, I think. Roughly. I mean, I'm not going to be too fussed about it at the moment because all this will be revisited. Okay, so I've got 2 spawners. Do I want to make a third? Well, really, there should be. I mean, they're kind of to fill the central area that everyone will be well, that all the colonies will be hunting in, but each colony should have its own areas as well, so maybe 2's enough for now. Okay. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a C++ class that's going to act as the base Freeplay director class, and then I'm going to create a blueprint class off that base class. Most of the director complicated stuff I want to happen in code and not in blueprints, just because the code's a bit more efficient. But it should all be set up in the blueprints. Like I say, I'm going to have these points of interest. Now, these points of interest were already in the game, and they were added because Liam was working on the AI, and that's what they're for, really. So that's the point of interest texture. Aha, here it is. So it's for the AI to look at it, but there we go, point of interest. So the AI will use it, but also I'm gonna pass it into the Freeplay director, and it will go, right, this is somewhere that the AI is looking at. I'm gonna put something interesting here. I'll add one of them on either side, mostly related to the spawners. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a C++ class just based on an actor. Don't think it makes sense to put it in the AI. No, it doesn't really. I'm just going to put it in the world. And I've done something similar to this before. If you've played Surrounded. Hello, Fredrex87. Fredrex87. Good to have you with us. If you've played Surrounded before, you'll have seen a similar thing to this, because Surrounded is a very basic implementation of what I'm hoping to achieve here, where it ramps up the difficulty and it spawns more and more enemies as time goes on, and it also the enemies themselves get more aggressive as time goes on and make more aggressive decisions. So here we're hoping to do something similar but more complicated, really. So I'm just going to base this off an actor. C++ class based off an actor. It's going to be called Freeplay director. And what Unreal Engine will do now is it will create a C++ class, a very basic C++ class for us to be able to store all this stuff in. Now, there's a thought here, whether we want, when enemies spawn, do we want them when they're spawning out of a specific hole to go towards a specific point of interest and guard that point of interest? If we do, then we've got to link points of interest with holes, right? Or do we just want them to spawn out of a random hole and then head towards a random point of interest? I mean, I want to allow the enemies kind of to have a little bit of a mind of their own. So I don't want them just to hang around the points of interest. I'd like them to wander a bit. And I've got stuff set up to allow that in the swarm point, which is if you've got a group of enemies in the game, they tend to be heading towards what's called a swarm point, which is just an invisible point that moves around. It's what kind of makes the enemies move around the map. Aha! Pubmeister. Yes! So either just a list of swarm points and a list of spawn points, or a linked list. So, like, it's called something in Unreal Engine, but I can't remember what it is. You basically have an array of two different things. So, like the start of the first entry, each entry of the array will have a swarm point and a point of interest and a spawn point. This is probably going over your heads. I don't really think I'm making much sense, to be honest. Okay. So it was in here. What was it called? Freeplay director. Still loading, apparently. There it is. Okay, like I said, it'll create a very basic implementation of it. Okay, so do I want an array of swarm points or not? It's something to think about. Not an array. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, I'm going to do though. So I'm going to make a blueprint class based off Freeplay director. Okay, so this is the blueprint version of it. And this is what we'll actually put in the world. It really doesn't matter where this goes. I'll put it on the surface because it sort of makes sense that it's on the surface. But it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's in place. If I just open it, this will remind me what it's called. So if you have a variable, it's called a set. So there's array, sets, and maps. Yeah, I think it's a set, which would allow me to link them. But I'm not actually convinced that I want to do that. Why not have one spawn hole connected to a few random points of interest? Yeah. I mean, what we could do is... Well, I wouldn't make them random because you might end up with connecting them to loads of different points of interest, which I don't really want to do. I mean, you don't want it. You don't want creatures to spawn at one hole and then walk the entire length of the map. Or maybe you do. Maybe it's a many-to-many relationship. Maybe what we want is a spawn point to be able to select a point of interest to head towards. Or maybe what we want is a point of interest to find the nearest few spawn points and work that way around. I'm just not sure at the moment. And these are the questions that keep me up at night. What I think might be nice, though, is for me to not strictly add any links, and for it to be able to make them itself. So, for example, it starts off, it runs a quick check to see where all the swarm points are, where all the spawn points are, maybe finds the 3 nearest to each point of interest and kind of assigns them itself. So when making a new map, you don't have to create all these links. I actually think I like that idea. So what I'll do is I'll just have 2 arrays, an array of points of interest, an array of spawn points. So just to have a quick check. Let's have a look at these 2 items. I think these are just actors. Yeah, it's just an actor. So one's just an array of actors. It says up there, parent class actor. And the other one is, I actually think it's called a point of interest. Yeah. Okay, so an array of points of interest, an array of it's tier A. What am I thinking? Thanks for making this game. The Dungeon Keeper feeling got me immediately hooked as a backer. And the nature part is close to my heart as well. Hey, no problem. It's totally a passion project for us as well. We're big Dungeon Keeper fans, and bugs are just really interesting. It's a really interesting area. And it doesn't get done that much in computer games. There's another one at the moment, Beetle Uprising. And that's quite interesting. It has certain similarities to Empires of the Undergrowth, actually. They've gone a different route with like being able to customize like genetic stuff. I haven't actually played it yet, but it looks cool. So I'm guessing it's an A point of interest. I'll probably have to include it. Let's see if I can find it. For some reason it's in bots. That's a very strange place to put it. So yeah, point of interest. Oh, should be it. Yeah. I'm assuming it's a point of interest. Waiting for it to catch up. I'm just waiting for IntelliSense to catch up with it. It's still doing something down at the bottom. Of course, it's not going to be happy with me at the minute because I haven't given it a name. And also in Unreal, I need to give it its U property. I'll just copy this from somewhere else. It's not quite right. That's blueprint read only. I want it blueprint read right. That's the one. That'll do as a category. This is just how you find it in blueprints. It's taking its time, isn't it? Takes ages to do this as well. Okay, so it's telling me there's something wrong. What's wrong? Oh, to be honest, I think it's just... Oh, it's at it again. It takes so long to save things with big maps. One part of it done. Gonna save this. So I'm about to try and package from C++. Okay, it looks like it's happy with me finally. I'll be preparing to do a hot reload now. And it crashed. Yay. It's alright. It's this is a new class I've created, and it's probably struggling to trying to include it in the code on the fly. I probably should have closed the editor to do the first compile with it, to be honest, but it's absolutely fine. Yesterday, a streamer started playing your game. He rushed through 1-1 and 1-2 and get overkilled in the Formicarium challenge. After that, he left the game and said, "Balanced." He had over 200 views. It's okay. Not everyone understands the game. It's you're unlikely to succeed at Formicarium Challenge 1 without actually understanding how the game mechanics work, and the game is different from most of the games. It's most similar to Dungeon Keeper, and a bit of Simant, but it's still most similar to Dungeon Keeper. And a lot of people haven't played. A lot of people haven't played Dungeon Keeper, the original Dungeon Keeper. It's all right. We fully expect a lot of people won't get it. They just won't get it. It's not a Call of Duty. It's not a StarCraft. So it's different. And if you haven't got the patience to learn something new, it's not going to be for you. But that's okay, because apparently it's for a lot of other people. So we're all good. Why isn't a challenge mode in 2.1 and 2.2? There isn't, just because we didn't have time to put it in. We're still deciding on what we think the challenge mode should be for those. I'd like it to be something properly interesting. I mean, we did have a few ideas, but I don't think any of them were good enough. Really, what I want a challenge mode to do is completely change the feel of the level, and I think it does that in 1.1 and 1.2. Because it certainly in 1.1 you normally you've just kind of got a patient puzzle that you're working out to try and defeat the level. In one, but as soon as you introduce the mole crickets, it all of a sudden becomes a scramble to zombie mod. No. It all of a sudden becomes a scramble to do it in time, and also you've got to, with the mole crickets, you've got to time your attacks. So the best way to do it is to wait till you've had a large mole cricket attack, because they come in waves of 1, then 2, then 1, then 3, then 1, then 4. So, for example, you wait till you had the four at the same time, deal with that, then you push forward. So the next mole cricket's only a 1. So it really does become a clever puzzle that you've got to solve. And on 2.2 it's similar, and 1.2 it's similar as well. Although you already do have the time pressure, it really does add to it. However, I'm not sure what we want to do with 2.1 and 2.2. It's got to feel different. It's got to feel properly different. Yeah, tried. You do gain food from the mole crickets as well. You can actually, if you're clever with it, you can use it to your advantage. And I think once you get past a certain point, the mole cricket attacks become more of just a way to boost your army rather than at the beginning they're difficult to deal with, but it doesn't take that long to deal to figure out how to get them. Tried to explain that to him, how it works, but he didn't understand it, and I think you were banned from the stream. What's the highest number of bugs coming in challenge mode? I can't remember whether it's got a limit. It's not me. I set that up originally, but one of the other programmers then altered it, and he's the one that made it 1, then 2, then 1, then 3, then 1, then 4. He must have put a limit in there, but he might not have done, so maybe it does get ridiculous. But to be honest, you can finish the game before it gets to 7. Like 6, 7 of them. You should have finished the level by then. It depends what what difficulty he was playing on as well. If he played on if he picked hard mode and went with mole crickets, expect it to be hard. If he was playing on easy, maybe it's a different matter. Although the mole crickets, they are easier on easy because everything's got less health on easy. All the enemies have less health on easy. But on normal, the mole crickets are actually just as hard as they are on hard. But I don't think that's a problem. As soon as you give it a shorter period of time to kind of experiment with it, you get what the wave sizes are. Hard challenge. I lost my queen a few times. Yeah, it's not easy. We didn't want it to be. We during like beta testing, what came out was that easy and normal modes need to be fairly easy, but we're okay keeping hard mode quite hard. So there's actually a big jump in difficulty between normal and hard. And I think that's a kind of that should come through. So if you select hard mode, you do expect a challenge because it's significantly harder than normal mode. And Insane's just then a level harder than that. Although Insane is apparently totally possible in all the levels. I say apparently because I've never done it. I've done the game on hard mode, and that's kind of how I balanced it. Was if I can just about do it on hard, I expect others should be able to as well. Okay, I've whittled on for a bit there, and I've not actually done much. So here we've got the Freeplay director. I was actually expecting to see the arrays here, but they've not come up. Annoyingly. I think I'm going to have to... Interesting. I think we've got an issue with... I think there was an issue when we set up the Freeplay director in C++ then. And it's basically broken things a little bit. So I'm going to try and do a clean build. See if we can get anywhere. The joys of development. Yeah, leaf cutters are firmly in our plan. They're within our early access plan. I'm not sure when the next story update's going to be. We can't set a date on it yet. We're making a move to plan the rest of the campaign now, so we're gonna have a firm plan of where the story's going to go. But yeah, leaf cutters are planned to be the next species that we take on, and they're quite a complex colony because they've got different types of worker and different types of soldiers. They got their majors, which are massive. There's three of us. Three of us working on the game, and we've got one person who deals with social media and the forum and that sort of thing as well. So, three of us, three developers, and four that are part of the team in total. So yes, we're not a very big team. It's kind of nice in a way. In control of your own stuff. I'm gonna try when I get back into the level. I'm gonna delete the Freeplay director that I put in and put another one in. Hopefully that'll solve it. Yeah, got really interesting ants, but the leaf cutter book, very interesting. Do you have your own formicarium? I don't, I'm afraid. I would like to have one, but I don't think I'll be allowed. we watch a lot of I watch a lot of Ants Canada on YouTube. He's really good. I like his style of presenting his stuff. It's really good. AC family. Maybe one day, if we have a proper central office, maybe we'll get an office formicarium. Yeah, I'd recommend Ants Canada if you. It's the way he tells it. Like he tells each episode like it's almost like it's a story. With the latest things his colonies are doing. Okay, so the arrays have appeared this time. Now I've done a clean build, so maybe I should just work with this. Okay, so what I wanted to do is from here, add them into the array. So I've got, how many did I create? One. I think I just created 2 spawn points. And 2 points of interest for now, didn't I? Point of interest 1 and point of interest 3. What's the engine got against number 2? Okay. So there I've got 2 points of interest and the 2 tunnel spawners in. Okay, so the question is now, do I want to do this next bit from the code or from blueprints? It'll be much quicker if I do things in blueprints, so I think I'll start with blueprints and then possibly transfer it to the code when we've got something working. Just for speed, really. I don't need to save the map as often as I do, although it's been crashing a bit today. So interesting how ants find new places to build. Yeah, there's loads of interesting stuff about ants. That's why we picked them as like the central focus for the game. The more you know about them, the more interesting they become. I felt like in the past games tend to have just said, no, these are ants, rather than actually looking at different types of ant. Because the different species of ant are so different in everything, in behavior, in like how they interact as a colony, how they interact with other colonies, how they eat. I do think ants don't get they don't tend to get a good enough rap for it. I mean, at least the movie Ant-Man, at least that introduced a few different types of ant. Okay, so like I said, I think I'm going to start with this in Blueprint. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is our Freeplay director, and in here we've got these arrays. Now I'm not going to put things into the array from here because it'll be done from inside the level. However, what I'm going to do is essentially when at begin play, so when the level starts running, I'm going to do a timer by event. So set timer by event. So what this is doing, so this triggers on when the game starts, and what this does is it's going to make a looping timer that every time the timer hits 0, it's going to run this. Now this is going to be the core of what the game what this director does. So it's gonna assess everything, and then once it's finished its assessment, it's going to make a decision on whether it's going to spawn some creatures, whether it's going to what those sort of things. So I'm going to make it think. It doesn't need to think particularly often. So I'm just going to do it every 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, this is going to think. And for now, I'm just going to run a bit of a test. So they're the spawn points that we put in the world. This is the length of them. So it's just the amount of them that's in there. So it's going to get the spawn point that's at this random integer. So what that is doing is just getting one of these at random. It's going to get a random one of them. It's then going to get a random, so their spawn points, so points of interest. There it's getting a random point of interest. What it's going to do is it's going to spawn an actor. Now at the moment I'm just setting this up as a test, and I'll make a more sophisticated implementation of this further down the line. But I just want to verify that this is working. So this is this is that point I was talking about that creatures try to head towards. Temperament is what it does, what the swarm does. I think if I put it in neutral, that will mean it does a bit of everything. Right, I want it to spawn at the point of interest. I'm gonna have a look at the swarm blueprint, but I can't quite remember how it's set up. But there's so if I drag a swarm blueprint out there, okay, so there's loads of properties on this. Trying to remember what I want it to do. So I probably want it to. So in swarm. Okay, so I've got to set its swarm spawn point. That needs to be set. That would be this, I think. Sorry. So swarm, respawn, and never kill swarm. They both need to be set. Right, creature class. Now this is important. This is what the swarm point, what creatures are spawning at the swarm point. I think I'm going to create a function to settle these properly. But I'll just run on it. It'll bring up these options, so it's a lot easier for me. Evening, Mike. Yes, the chat is quite quiet today. Guess it's because it's Sunday. It's auto-saving. So it's only gonna be a short stream today. I don't think it's gonna go on much longer. I think I'm just gonna get these creatures spawning, and just get it so it's constantly spawning creatures, and then I'll leave it there for today. But we should be able to see the creatures spawning. What I should have is the Freeplay director should have a list of like things like creatures that are allowed to spawn in the level, and that should be where we're taking this creature class from. But for now, we're just going to set it ourselves. So what is it? Creature class, swarm max size. Make them tiger beetles. So respawn rate. So respawn. So this will be the amount of time before it respawns one. For testing purposes, I'll make it fairly quick. Right, spawn radius is the amount of distance from the tunnel that it's allowed to spawn. So I think about 200. Right, so this should actually cause quite a lot of tiger beetles to spawn pretty damn quickly. I'm just going to tell this to begin open so we can immediately get to the surface and see what's going on. For now. Thanks, Valentine. Merry Christmas. Yes. Very Merry Christmas to you too. Maybe next week. I think the next stream I'm going to do is going to be on Thursday. And that'll be just before I head off for Christmas. So maybe we'll do a Christmas themed stream. See if I can find a Christmas hat. I've got a fantastic book. See if I can beautiful version of the book. Like, I do really like The Grinch. Bought as a gift a couple of years ago. Love that book. Okay, so quickly running the level, and let's see what happens when the swarm points start spawning. Now, what should happen is a swarm point should spawn every 5 seconds, and then each swarm point that spawns should start spawning tiger beetles. Now, what might happen? Oh no, looks like it's working. The first tiger beetle's already with us. There's the second. Okay, so that looks like it's working. This map should get pretty full of tiger beetles pretty quickly. So they all see... Oh no, they start coming out the other one as well. Alright, fair enough. And the longer we leave it, the more spread out they should become, because I haven't their swarm point should be moving. Although, yeah, so their swarm point should be moving. And what you should notice is that they're in kind of groups. Okay, this is going to get insane. We've only got one worker as well. And funnily enough, you could actually get somewhere with this map, because you could use that one worker to slowly chip at a beetle. Let's not be silly. So yeah, you can see them that they're hovering around those points of interest. Okay, let's have a look at that. Wear Santa hats, drink pork is an interesting thing. In Freeplay, creatures should definitely be hostile to one another. Yeah, I agree. Although you could do it with some intelligence, right? So we could say, you know, tiger beetles aren't going to cannibalise each other. Maybe they will. I don't know. I don't actually know what they do. I doubt they kill each other in nature, just because that's generally not a good survival tactic. I mean, some things kill each other, but probably not tiger beetles. Yeah, I just want to have a brief. Actually, I might not be able to tell. Okay, so these are all the spawn points. Okay, there's loads of them. Okay, as you can see, they're all actually in the same location, so they're not actually moving. So that's an issue. Maybe I'll tackle that one next. Yeah, because I would have expected them to be more spread out, to be honest. Yeah, it's a lot of tiger beetles. Well, the way the game code works is they're either going to fight or they're not. So, for example, if a tiger beetle comes across some other ants or maybe a small spider or something, maybe they'll attack those, but they probably shouldn't just attack each other. Anyway, that's enough. This is getting silly now. So we had an issue there that the swarms weren't actually moving. But they are set to neutral here. So I'm going to take a look at the AI for the swarm point, because it should be this. This should be the AI for the swarm point. So I'm just going to have a look at them. And we'll see what it's doing, because what it should be doing is making a decision to move every now and then. Okay, so it did run that. We definitely saw it run that. Coming back with the same, you know what, I think I know what the problem is. This is actually an issue we've got at the minute, is this function just returns the, right, I need to click it. bet if we have a look in the output log. Stupid thing. Yeah. It's this, not this. Sorry, this. So it's this. Get random reachable wide location. It's returning the actor location. So essentially the function that's meant to relocate it isn't working properly. Why is that? Yeah, I'm gonna need to investigate that at some time, but I need to write that down. Hi, are you a dev for the game? Yes, I'm a dev for the game. One of 3. So get random reachable wide location. Not working properly. Right, I'll deal with that in my own time because that's not going to be an interesting one to watch. How you doing, Hellspawn? Oh dear, our tiger beetle problems got a bit much again. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the wide location thing at another point. For now, let's mix it up a bit and allow it to spawn some other actors. So when it makes this decision, I'm gonna throw in a random choice. Okay, so this is a swarm creature class. So, oh God. I'm just gonna throw in some random choices here. So beach wolf spider, beach tiger beetle, hermit crab. Okay, so all we've done there, this is still very basic, and this is how I'm going to build upon it. So this is just some very basic spawning code, but eventually I want the level to be making decisions based on what's going on and difficulty setting, which I'll introduce soon. Actually, I should probably do that. But at the minute, we're just keeping things basic. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these on different teams. So that's chosen swarm creature. If we also have chosen Okay, cool. Something I'd like to do with like this mode is have like super versions of creatures, like really dangerous versions. Just for fun, really. Like after you've been playing for a while, maybe super hard versions of creatures can start to spawn. If like I say, this is these are all up. These should all be options in the setup. We'll eventually get to setting up the level, which should actually probably come fairly soon after we've got some sort of basic setup for this director in place that I'm doing at the minute. Because this director is going to need to take cues from the level setup as well. I'm quite excited with what we can do with free play mode because the rules are kind of relaxed with it. Right. Where are we going? I had a question for you. When you first start out and your workers spawn, why do they not harvest? Most times I have to relocate the group there and tell them to harvest. They'll harvest anything that they can see. So they have like a certain radius around them that they can see, and if they can see food within that radius, they'll harvest it. Unless they can see an enemy, in which case they'll attack that. The reason why they might not be harvesting is that you'll either have them in a group that has food gathering turned off, or you'll have them, or they won't be close enough to harvest it. So yeah, they do have a range on, like a sight range on that. They'll harvest near the queen, because that, yeah. Yeah, harvesting's actually fairly low in the priority. I mean, I can show you the priority list if you're interested. And workers have a different priority list than soldiers, for example. Blueprints, creatures. Let's have a look at the gene thief worker. That's a swarm version, not that. Form character worker. There we are. Okay, so here's their priority list. So if there's an enemy nearby, they'll attack it. Second, they'll do their jobs. So jobs are tunneling, building, those sort of things. Then they'll gather food. Then follow trail. I just use the ones that start to dig, and warriors do all the rest. Yeah, I mean, that's a valid tactic. It's often worth building some workers, like particularly on level 2-1, because they're just a cheap way of gathering food on the surface. And certainly in the earlier levels, if you don't have, in the earlier tide rises, if you don't have enough, just sheer number of ants, you're going to lose quite a lot of food. But it's not the only way of doing it. There's different ways. What am I doing? That's right. I was okay. So I've set a colony ID on them. So that's like teams that they're on. The minuses are ones that aren't actually ant colonies. So what I'm gonna do. I'm actually surprised that it's not an input variable. Oh no, it wouldn't be at that point. Colony ID. Okay, so what we're going to end up with is a massive insect war on the surface here. That could be quite a fun way to end the stream. That wasn't actually what I meant to do. Sorry. That needs to go in here. So yeah, what we should see now is the surface creatures will start murdering each other. Nothing more fun than that, right? Insects murdering each other. Are you going to enter bigger predators like scorpions? Yes, we do have plans to have bigger predators in there. We're still debating how exactly we want to do those. Oh, they're squaring up. Maybe activate photo mode. Oh, there's a fight going on already. Who's going to win? I actually don't know who will win. Oh, it looks like the spider's going to win by a mile. Do you know what happened there? It ate the beetle. The spider ate the beetle. That's why the beetle disappeared. Is he going to do it again? No, I didn't. Right, spiders have Alright, now they're just fighting at the tunnel entrances. Of course, because they're all spawning from the same tunnel entrances and very quickly as well. I think spiders are totally gonna just dominate here. Spiders actually have no wander distance, so they won't just walk around on their own. This isn't going to be as interesting as I'd hoped, I think, because all the fights are just going to happen around the tunnel entrances. It's going to end up with this weird mass of spiders in the middle. So as you can see, there's some considerations to be made here. I think if we are going to have insects attacking each other on the surface, I think they need to eat food, so they need to actually eat each other rather than just kill each other. And food needs to decay. Because else, without the player doing anything, just by waiting, you'll end up with loads of dead creatures on the surface. I mean, obviously this is an extreme example. What we've got here is every 5 seconds, the rate at which creatures are spawning is increasing, which isn't going to be the case. The spiders are absolutely owning this. I knew the spiders were OP, but I didn't quite know how OP. I think we've got a hell of a lot of creatures spawned now. The game's reduced to a crawl. That's enough. Every creature should have their own spawn point to enter the battlefield. Love the insane scientist guy who's love it. Yeah, he is. I think we managed to properly get people to hate him, which is good. It's what you want in a baddie. Okay. So yeah, I think we're gonna need. I mean, I don't really want creatures to be fighting each other at the spawn points. So I think for a start we need a lot of spawn points. So there's much more chance for creatures to be spread out across the map, and obviously a lot of points of interest. Also, at the moment, this game they're spawning really quickly. Every 15 seconds, another one spawning from a spawn point, and a new spawn point, a new swarm point is been added every 5 seconds. So it's ridiculous. So it's not too bad, but yeah, I think there's a lot we need to consider here as we move forward with it. But yeah, as you can see, the rules of the game are working fine in this map. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to end the stream there. I said it was going to be a short stream today. So thanks for joining me. The next stream's going to be on Thursday. I'll aim to start at midday, as long as nothing delays me. We should be starting at midday. In the meantime, I might have a look at a few more things on Freeplay. I might have to do some of the other stuff as well, bug fixes and whatnot. But we'll see how the week goes. So I may have added a few more things in, at least a few more spawn points and that into the map, so we can start moving on those sort of things. Pretty soon as well, I want to start looking at the level setup, so to give the player some options from the menu, and how those options translate into how enemy creatures spawn and that sort of thing. I don't want to look at saving yet. We'll look at saving in this mode once we know exactly what we want in it, because with saving we've got to decide exactly what we want to save. So yeah, next Thursday we'll be doing more of a slightly more festive themed stream, because it'll be the last one before Christmas, and we'll continue looking at the director, but also maybe start touching on the level setup itself. So yeah, thanks very much for joining me, and have a good week, and I will see you next time.